Okay, so today we're showcasing Fallen of Albaz, or the way I decided to upgrade the three structure decks. Most people will tell you that this structure deck has been one of the best structure decks of all time. Every once in a while, Konami will decide to like throw a random structure deck and just make it so busted out that you can just build out of three of them and just keep it that way and play with it. But if you upgrade it, you can take it other ways. With that being said, this is the way I decided to upgrade it. I think in this case is with cards I used to have around the house. I could put in more hand traps, but I don't want to go in too heavy on it. I would say maybe this has 150, 200 dollars in it. But first things first, we play three Keeper of Magic. Keeper of Magic is one of the best ways to get to our main player branded fusion. You pitch one spell trap and search one. We combine that with one Springus kid. She says when she gets special summon to herself if you control one fusion that specifically names Fallen of Albaz. And if she's summoned, she can search for a branded spell trap, add it to your hand, and you put a card from your hand to the bottom of the deck. Next draw is playset of Tri-Brigade Mercurier. Most people are cutting this to either 1 or 0. I think 3 is still correct, at least for more budget-friendly builds. I think that playing 3 is absolutely correct. And next up, we play 2 Fallen of Albaz. White 2, not 3. You don't really want to see him in hand, you want to dump him. If you see him, you see him. If you don't, just let him be, I guess. But mainly it's just the fact that you have many ways to access them, and playing 3 of them is not too shabby, but not too great either. For my take on this build, I do play Fluffles. I have the deck, so I did have the Edge Imp engine. I do consider that this engine is pretty good in this deck. Playing 2 is correct. However, if I search the price real quick, I think it might be out of budget range for most players. Let me search that up. According to TC Player at the time of recording, Edge Imp Chain is $6 each, so it's $12 for them. If you're planning to upgrade this deck, you could also try going the branded version. I don't have the branded version, and I don't think I'm getting it. Next up are one of his Albion, Shrouded Dragon. So the main person that's saying to play 3 is Rev, the Sealed only player. He is fine at 3, but oftentimes, even though he may be considered an obstinate goblin, you don't want to see him too much. For our last monster that's not really a hand trap, but it's just a good monster, is Artifact Scythe. Doing a Scythe lock usually just seals the deal with most decks, still to this day. Or it forces your opponent to waste a card on it. And lastly, hand traps, we have Poison Effect, where they come with the structure deck, and 2 DD Crows. Because I still feel like DD Crow is really an underrated hand trap right now. You can change them for basically a lot of stuff. Right now, the most expensive things that are not in the structure deck are 2 DD Crows and Dead Chain. So if you bought the 3 structure decks right now, you have maybe $2 plus 6 and 6, that's 12, so that's $42 so far. Next up, we have the Namesake and the best card in the deck. If they Ash Blossom you start crying, but this is the best card in the deck. Branded Fusion is Shuttle Fusion if Shuttle Fusion wasn't correct, because you can always say into the graveyard, so it's still pretty good. After that, we have the playset of Super Poly. Super Poly is a way to interrupt your opponent away to OTK and searching the price up at the time of recording. This would bump your budget out if we're going for the cheapest versions. I see a listing of $6 to $7, or that pumps you up to $21. meaning we would be at 42 plus 21, that's 63, which is not half a price. To that, we have place it a patchwork. Patchwork is the namesake of the Viper engine. Searches for polymerization and the other card. Etching chain. Price at time of recording. Patchwork. We're at 63. Patchwork is $3 a copy, so that puts us at 72. $5 copy, yeah. You can cut one off if you really want to optimize the engine to run 222. You search one and search the other. But I doubt it's the best because you want to see it. After that, plays at a brand lost. This card is what ties at least this version of the deck together. Playing one is good, but you want to see it. You can fusion and you can search Mercurier with it and set up one of our interruptions with it. Lastly, we have Playset of Allure of Darkness. This is the reason why we're playing Playset of Mercurier. And, well, in the case that we actually had extra copies of Etching Chain, we can search it and banish it. Right now, I see common copies are at $2, so from 76 we would jump to 82. And next up, 2 copies of Polymerization, which brings us to 84. This ties up our engine. Polymerization is just another fusion spell we're playing. And lastly, Gold Sark. Gold Sark has only one reason and one reason alone to be in this deck. You can Gold Sark for Tribregate Mercurier and search any card that has Fawn of Albaz name. So pretty good. +1. Next things, back to the front. These come in the structure deck. Back to the front is our way to Scythe Lock, and in case we don't play Scythe Lock because it says target, damn, it targets, but if not, you can do double Mirror Jade with Super Poly into other stuff. Yeah, that's for generic traps, and things we can search is Branded Retribution, which is a Slump Judgment and Recycling, Branded Sword for closing out games, and Judgment of the Branded, because it's another name. I think it's 41 cards, most of these are in the structure deck. Reasons why we play Branded Retribution is because I like the idea of the countered. Sword helps us close out games if we need some way to close out games faster, and Judgment of the Branded is if it's sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can set it. So neat. Albion send this, set it. Extra deck, place it off Albion, the Branded Dragon. He lets you fusion summon by banishing. Then we have Rebellion, which is discard 1 card, fusion summoning by recycling from banish, graveyard, or field. And best monster of the deck, Mirror Jade, Iceblade Dragon. Once per turn, send 1 card from your extra deck to your graveyard, and you can banish 1 monster on the field. Not necessary, but if you send Albion on end phase, it gets you any spell trap you need. So you can search your options. If you open back to the front, you can go Mirror Jade dump 1, set Branded Retribution because of him on the end phase, and trigger effect of another thing, just fusion summon off the Mirror Jade. And on your opponent's turn, you go back to the front, revive the Mirror Jade. And then you have an interruption and something else. And we have 2 Springans, Iron Dash Dragon. It's another name. If it's dumped to the graveyard, you can add Springans Kid, which is pretty neat. We're a Fallon of Albaz special summon from deck, so if you send to the graveyard, you can search Kid and do stuff. The other effect is you can move him to someone's and pop stuff in a whole column, so pretty neat effect. Never comes up, but in the case that you need extra targets, we have them. Then we have 1 Brigand. It cannot be destroyed by battle, so stall for time if you really want to, and if not, I think he searches a Tri-Brigade. Yeah, he searches for special summon as a Tri-Brigade or another one. Then we have 2 copies of Plan Dragostapelia and 1 copy of Starving Venom. So we were at 82. I think that's 83, 4. Because these ones are like a buck each, and 4 Starving Venom. I didn't prepare the beforehand. Starving Venom right now is at cheapest a buck. Well, $2, so puts us at 85 with extra decks, so not half bad. At least budget-wise, it's not really the most budget-friendly. If you really wanted to play this budget-friendly, you don't really need to upgrade it. I just like the idea of upgrading the deck. For side deck reasons, we have playset of Godarla. Godarla is generic kaiju. You have 6 kaijus in your deck, so you could play Radiant instead. Playset of Dark Ruler no more. These ones are included on the site on the structure deck. I can't think clearly today. Playset of Twin Twisters. These are your side deck back row removal. I think these are a buck each too, or less. Harpies Feather Duster, it's really good. Rigeki, same thing. I don't play more because I don't really think it's gonna come in too often. Called by the Grave. Really same thing. If one of your side deck, like if you don't play, you think you don't need something from the main deck, you can start removing stuff. My opinion, you could side deck the Artifact Scythe, other stuff for going second. Lastly, playset of Solemn Strike. In no particular reason, just if you know you're going first, these are coming in. The way you would side deck is something along the lines of, if you know you're going second, you remove playset of back to a front, 1 Judgment branded, and Retribution you can leave Sword because that's OTK material. Side deck out also the Artifact Scythe because you know you're not gonna Scythe block them, and there you have 6 spaces. If you know you're going second, you can side in. If you're playing against back row removal, you can go playset of anything really. But I would go playset of Twin Twisters if you're going against back row deck with that. And Call by the Grave to stop hand traps if your opponent's playing a really hand trap heavy deck. And you're probably not siding Kaiju, so you have an extra space there, up to you what you want to add. You could go Rigeki if you wanted that power 1 of. If you know you're going first, you leave this in. And the side deck, potentially if you know your opponent, it's not, if you need more back row disposal, yeah, you can add these 3 and 4. You can side deck Super Polys of your opponent, if you know for sure your opponent is not playing something that you can Super Poly off. It's another way you can use Super Poly in the matchup. 1 Polymerization can come out, I wouldn't suggest it. Spring Its Kit can come out too. Anyways, yeah. That's basically how you side deck. You'd side deck either for going first or going second, and usually 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, yeah, we got the 15. Usually, I don't get these questions, but usually when I started playing Yu-Gi-Oh, I would ask myself, how do I know if my opponent, what should I side deck? For those of you that don't know, usually if you are going first deck, you're usually going to go second. If your opponent knows that you play a lot of going second cards, or your opponent has a deck that goes first, you do know you're going second. So you usually know what type you're going. Now, tested hands did bring my Salmon grade video to 20 minutes, so I wouldn't recommend doing the test hand, but in this case, you have Fight for Patchwork, Fallen of Albaz, that's full combo. You can fusion summon the other 2, search 1, and do the Lubellian line that way. So the only issue I have with this deck is that it's really high roll. If you draw a really good hand, you can play it really well. If you draw a hand like the one we just drew, it makes it really hard to play the deck. See, for example, if you draw something like this, you live or die by the branded fusion. But if we're going second, we have Allure of Darkness, so we have bait an Ash Blossom with that. If your opponent doesn't bait the Ash Blossom, you draw 2. Banish that Mercurier. We just got better hand selection, we didn't get punished, I think. Use each effect, yeah. You can use both effects, so with that you can search whatever you need. In this case, Fallen of Albaz could be a pretty neat pick. Go Frightful Fusion. They didn't do anything yet, and you should be able to win the game. Go get that. Polymerization. Now, you don't care about the polymerization, you just care about normally Fallen of Albaz. We're at 6 cards on hand, so crazy. Fallen of Albaz effect, pitch 1. Depending on what your opponent is playing, you can go 1. You will not be able to do the Tri-Brigade one. Well, not the Tri-Brigade one, the Springans one. You could probably make this one because it's level 8 or higher. You can make Starving Venom, Mirror Jade Lubellion, or Albion. It's just light, dark, or any extra deck card that isn't its Fusion Sync Xyz or Link monster, so anything except Pendulum or level 8 or higher monsters. If you can Fusion Summon something, you will be popping off because you just Fusion Summon it away. Edge and Chain is still gonna search something off. When it touches Graveyard, you get another Frightful Patchwork. You're still at 6 cards, and that's why I say this deck is stupid. You could also Super Polymerization if they have something in response, so that's that. And you pitch the Patchwork. And this is if they don't Ash you. If they did Ash you, you still have Branded Fusion. Yeah, that's the deck profile. As always, if you guys have video ideas or if you want to see any particular deck or budget version of deck, I can try. It's hard to work on a budget constraint, but as you can see, you can build this deck for under $100, more or less. It's like a $90 version of the deck. If not, well, if you're trying to go under $50, just purchase 3 structure decks and slowly upgrade. I would say upgrade side deck first, because Twin Twisters really can make a matchup. Then upgrade through Allure of Darkness, because Tri-Brigade Mercury on Banish is crazy. But that is the deck profile. Thank you guys a lot, and have a nice day. Peace out.